Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the Sales World channel today and iHealth Radio with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, new topic, new background. Well, today's we're in the world of sales and specifically the world of hacking people, social engineering, behavior sales. And as some of you know, I am all about sales. I love sales and I live in sales. I breathe sales. And my guest today is just does exactly the same thing. He's a fellow podcaster as well. And also he's the CEO of his own company. And it is called Behavior Sales. And we're going to really feed a lot of sales stuff today. That's good. And by the way, this show is not necessarily for just salespeople. So if you're watching or listening and you see like, oh, this is just a sales, no, it's not. Because if you understand anything about sales, we do sales in our personal lives every day. So let's just be clear about that. So I want you to stay tuned and listen to all this because this is going to apply to your life and everything you do. So let's just, get that out of the way. So with me, I have Benjamin Bressington, and, he's going to give us a lot of insights today. Benjamin, or Ben, shall I call you Ben?
Ben is fine. I'm happy with Ben.
Ben it is. Well, Ben, listen, first, thank you for, being with me today. And hopefully we'll deliver a good, input here and then a lot of insights to the folks. And, it's going to be fun. I know it's going to be fun. So we're going to enjoy this. So first things first, as always, Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and then we can deep dive into the whole thing.
Yeah. So, and for all of those listening, you might be like, sales I'm not necessarily interested in. But are you interested in having more influence or the ability to influence others to get what you want? So you can maybe get a promotion, career advancement, or have a more effective conversation with your loved ones. So you're not battling with them or you're constantly dealing with the drama. Imagine this. If you could see and predict how somebody was going to react to something, and you were able to control the reaction. Imagine if you were able to live life a little bit more less like a roller coaster of emotion, because let's face it, if we don't know how to control our own emotion and understand the emotional response of people, we might get a little pissed off when that driver in front of us slows down, or when that person walking beside us on the footpath cuts us off, or when the server right now takes a little bit longer to process your coffee order, right? We're seeing a lot of people get frustrated. But when you can start to understand and predict what people are doing, it's kind of like seeing through the matrix and starting to understand that all people are wired in a certain way where they're going to react. And you can literally predict that reaction with confidence. Be it that family weekend dinner where it usually turns into like a crap show, like we've all been there, we've all been in those dinners, right? Or those awkward situations. So it's not just about sales. Sales at the heart of it is communication. It's just that the world of sales, where people live and die usually by making commissions on converting a transaction, they're usually a little bit more interested in improving. But here's the secret. Most salespeople suck. And it's for one pure reason. They spend less than $50 a year on being a sales professional. So if your livelihood is literally dependent on your ability to communicate, you'd think you'd spend a little bit more money, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I'm sure you invest in yourself, in your development, and a lot of people, like, they miss understand the communication basics. And what I'm really sad to say is that a lot of the communication tactics that are preached by sales professionals or preachers or leaders in the field are outdated and old. And as a result, they cause what we call behavioral resistance, where you're actually having a communication with somebody and you get an uneasy gut feeling in your stomach about when you're communicating to them, or the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, or that salesman uses that line, well, at the end of the call, we're going to make a decision if we're a good fit for each other. So you know what you can only think about now? That decision you've now got to make at the end of the call, and you're like, I don't know if I want to make the decision. Like, you've already created anxiety just by the word you're using. So who am I? My name's Ben Bressington. I studied gamification and criminology. So what that means is I learned all about profiling criminals. I wanted to do what they did in CSI in Australia and join like the federal service to profile criminals. But instead, I profiled sales and marketing people to help them improve their sales conversions. But I didn't realize I was doing that for about 5 years. I was applying what I was getting taught by the FBI and federal level agencies on how they catch criminals. And I was trying to catch customers. That's where I started and how I got involved in the journey. Does that make sense?
Oh, well, I actually did a better job than I did in terms of getting people excited about the show. So, well, you make perfect sense, and you're right. And that's the biggest mistake in sales, is that we all look for the kill, the end of the line, the finish, before we go into a deep dive and get to make that connection with people and communicate with them what's there and so on and so forth. That's a big deal. And
well, let me give people an example of that. Is it okay if I share an example? Right?
Sure, of course.
A lot of people approach sales with the wrong mindset. And the thing is this body language is subconsciously communicated or unconsciously communicated between us, right? There is this thing that we can read people's emotions and their intentions, right? There's a lot of science associated to it. And there's an entire industry focused around the law of attraction, right? But here's the example. Is it acceptable for you to walk into an elevator or a lift, depending on where you are in the world, right? I have to translate my Australian, right? If I walk into a lift and I look at the person and I go, hey, how's your relationship with your mother? Right? That would be a little bit awkward for someone I've never met before. But yet most salespeople approach every single conversation with that same intention. Oh, we're going to close the deal. We're going to kill the deal. We're going to kill the transaction. We're going in for the kill. So the whole conversation is built off resistance and manipulation. And that's where science is now showing us how we can be more effective and actually connect with authority and influence, if that makes sense.
No, it makes great sense. And actually, that's the reality of things. And first of all, I'm impressed when you talked about your background. So you can read minds. You can figure out people before they can figure themselves. That's great. And that's true. I mean, again, that's the biggest thing. Sales is behavior 101. And it's all about, I mean, all the studies that actually push, marketing and things is all about behavioral stuff and how people are, making their choices and decisions and things like that. So really it's all about that, the body posture, everything can determine, what's going to happen next. And you're right. A lot of sales professionals may get into the profession a little bit, off, not from a training perspective. So they don't get the right training and whatever that is. And they learn on the fly, because we have something in all of us that is sales. Everybody can think of themselves as a salesperson. Everybody probably can sell something, but you're right, is how you do it and whether you get the outcomes that you deserve or not. And most of the time when you lose a sale is because something was not right. And there is I always call it's a science and an art in sales. Mm-hmm. The science is the methodology, is what you do, how to get there, and the behavior and all that is in there. But the art is your style and, how you get into the discussion and you get into that person's, heart and mind, and they really feel it. And they're not really, to your point, angry or eager about what that decision is going to cost them. Because that's the thing. When we in front of salespeople, we're like, well, how much is it going to cost? I mean, everybody's like, usually like, skip to the end. What is this going to cost me? But if you move away from that, and usually good salespeople can do that. That's the last thing I want to discuss with you is the cost. I want to see this is how it's going to mean, what's going to mean to you. Is it going to work for you? What are your needs?
Right. You're 100% right. And there's two different types of communicators, right? And we'll put it in the world of sales because we're talking about sales right now, right? So the thing is, in the world of sales, there's a product pusher, right? Which is traditionally that dirty car salesman, or a lot of people in home-based business, network marketing, like there's a 3-foot rule. Like if they're breathing and fogging up a mirror, they're a lead. Well, that's not really the case, right? And it's not really the way to approach everybody as your next payday. So there's a product pusher or a problem solver. And the problem is that most of us don't even know the right questions to actually identify the problem. And it's not logically addressing, because there was client-based selling over the last few years, right? Client-side selling, all that type of stuff. But what they don't realize is asking logical questions doesn't create an emotional sale. And the problem is if you don't know how to ask emotional-based questions, you'll never create urgency. And one of the big things we've been able to analyze in communication is people will communicate using two types of motivators, either intrinsic motivation, where I'm trying to motivate you internally and you're persuading yourself to work with me, right? Or buy the product or whatever, because your words are the most persuasive words. Or I'm externally motivating you. And if I'm externally motivating you, I'm using price, I'm using pressure, I'm using anxiety, I'm using excitement, right? And excitement can actually create resistance, right? I don't know if people are paying attention, but did you just notice what I did with my tonality? How I slowed down. 80% of all communication is actually tonality. So the thing is if you start just to understand a little bit of this, and here's the tip for anyone who's trying to pay attention and right now captivate more conversions in their life, approach every conversation a little bit reserved and cynical. Don't be excited. Don't be a hot mess. Just approach things and go, hey, but why do you want to work with me today? So you got on the call today because you clicked on an ad. First of all, did you find what you're looking for? Or are you still looking? If you literally ask people that question at the start, it'll transform your entire conversation. You know what pisses me off? Is all those people, the salespeople, and we get on a call and they spend the first 10 minutes talking about sports and the weather and how much it snowed. I'm like, man, I don't care. I got stuff to do. And what they don't realize is their rapport building method is actually broken. Does that make sense?
Well, it does, and Ben. So there are some schools of thought that because I've been to a lot of those trainings in sales, and there is that building the credibility, the report piece. But you're right; it's just how it's done, and whether it's appropriate. I mean, you cannot take the wrong context and feed it into someone that's not interested. You got to find their motivation.
But the thing is, Michael Jordan even says it best, right? I can take 1,000 free throws a day, right? I can shoot 1,000 free throws a day. But the thing is, if my form is wrong, I've done it 1,000 times incorrectly. And the problem is that most people have been taught a method, and the method no longer works. Where if they got taught a model adapts and uses data-driven to understand. So the problem is you got taught a method that could have worked in the 60s. Anyone who follows AIDA, the AIDA method, attention, interest, what's the last two? Do you remember?
No.
Desire. And so it's the AIDA method, right? That method was created in 1840 to motivate people in sales and conversions back in 1840. That's over 150 years ago. Do you think consumer intelligence and consumer buying patterns have changed a little bit since horse and buggy days?
I'd say a lot more than a little bit, but it's only a century and a half, right? I mean, so no, I mean, and more definitely these last decades than ever. I mean, we're moving at speed of light in terms of behavior and change and everything. Where our influences are different, everything's different, right? But I just want to go back quickly, because when you were defining, the reason behind sales and in the approach to sales, which is communication, you really stated the best. And this is actually for your life. we can twist this any angle. We can go talk about how you can, be the best salesperson in your business, or best provider of service, whatever, or best communicator. But really, in your life, you're transacting with people every day. Friends, family, parents, kids, you name it. And that starts at early age. I always said this, kids are the best salespeople because they start doing that and they get their stuff anyways. But the idea is all about 3-point communication, and understanding. That's the other thing, listening. I mean, you can't possibly know what you need if I don't listen to you. If I don't ask the right questions and get the feed in, and I need to know your stuff. Because if, like, to your point, if I jump, and just throw in stuff at you, like, and shove it down your throat, it's not going to do anything for you. To your point, that's the anxiety. It's like, no, this is not good. And we already know this. People have resistance on anything sales, even humans. Even relationships.
100%. And here's another example. Have you ever been on a sales call or been talking to somebody, right? And they're trying to pitch you something, right? Mm-hmm. And I call it, because in communication, you're doing one of two things, right? It's like a pendulum. You swing. You swing between posturing, which means you're doing posturing out of fear and anxiety, or you're collapsing out of fear and anxiety, right? So the thing is people who become better at communication kind of take control of the pendulum so it doesn't swing so aggressively. So the example is, have you ever been on a call where the salesperson started negotiating with themselves? Right? You're smiling, right? The thing is like, you get on the call and you're like, and they might have just gone quiet for a few seconds, or they might have just gone, right? Thinking. And you're like, well, you know what? We could probably knock 25% off if you take action today and if you're going to move forward. And you're like, oh, I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to the boss, right? And they're like, what about if I got you 50% off for your first month? So the salesperson starts collapsing and negotiating with themselves. Right? Mm-hmm. Simple misunderstanding of intention.
I love the way you position these things. It's pretty cool. I mean, you're definitely, you are your CEO. You are the CEO of behavior sales. You get that. That's the seal of approval. But yeah, obviously you don't need that from me. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, you enjoy this and you understand it. And to your point, this is really mind stuff. You are working mind and emotions, and all that stuff is happening, and it's actually manifesting in communication and how it's, the exchange is happening. And that's also for information, when you're actually sharing information, people are receiving that information, and you have to have a way to break it down to them. I've seen in trainings where you have two different trainers. Again, training is sales too. Like, it's information that is being shoved, but if people don't get it, it's not going to, I'm sure you've done sales pitches and presentations and trainings and things and talk shows. Even sometimes you can bore people to that, or you can get them excited, right? and if you don't get that connection, that fire, the energy, and you don't feel the vibe, and you don't get that, that real interest, it's over. It's a done deal. It's you're dead. And that's not
so
good.
We can clarify exactly what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
If you don't stimulate the emotion, you do not captivate the interest.
Ooh, I love it.
If you do not stimulate emotion, you don't create urgency or interest. So the whole goal of anyone, so if you're communicating with anyone, I don't care if you're communicating with your grandparents, right? Mm-hmm. It's all about captivating focus and leading focus. And in society today, we've got a massive, massive problem. Do you know what it is by any chance?
There's a lot of problems today. So.
There's a lot of problems. They're too broad, right? So people are like, yeah, there's lots of problems, man. I'm not sure which one. But here's the problem with what social media has done. They reward you for captivating focus. But most people have got no clue how to lead the focus once captivated. So what happens? You keep scrolling. The thumb keeps moving. 3 seconds, and then I'm gone. So your only skill you've got to develop is how to captivate and lead. Because if you can't lead the conversation, if you can't lead the focus to the next step, if you can't recaptivate all the time, it doesn't matter. Have you seen all these social, it's funny, you see all these social media people, they got 10 million followers, but they're broke. They live in the parents' basement. Because they don't know how to monetize it. They don't know how to lead the attention they're getting. So all they keep doing is stupid stunts, like Insta famous. Yeah, that's great. But if you can't buy the lunch or the $100 steak, then what's it really matter?
I like your style. Oh, man. But you're right. You're right. Well, I mean, you just said it perfectly here about, the social, right? I mean, one of the things that the algorithms are used and the way they use it, it's really exactly that. I mean, if you scroll on things, you're not going to get the feed from those things, like, so a subject matter, whatever. If you spend few seconds on then that TikTok, for example, is notorious about it. If you just start looking at sales for 2 minutes or 2 seconds rather, you start seeing a lot of stuff about sales, anything about dress code, about whatever. If you just like switch up and then you get something different, and it's not that's just an AI working in the back end using these same concepts. But you're right. If you're on Facebook or even on TV or YouTube, whatever you're watching, this is not good. But you get a nice little thing that like, oh, wait a minute, I want to see this to the end. And once you do that, and that's really the bottom line, you want to see it through. And if I don't get, and that's the other thing, like, this is a talk show, right? When I started with the disclaimer about sales, I wanted to make sure that people don't just like, okay, this is not a sale thing, we're moving. I want it to be where people understand this is things these are the things that you can use in everyday life that will help you with your spouse, with your family, with your relationship, live happier. Because if you understand and avoid conflict, that's another thing. You can read that stuff.
Let's share one little body language that people can watch for. Like there's I got trained by the guy who trains the CIA on body language, right? So body language, hypnosis, stuff like that. It's a lot of interesting stuff. So you will not have to spend 2 years mastering it like I did. I'm going to teach you one little thing you can look for right now, which is going to actually determine if people need reassurance. And in the sales or any communication, right? Having to reassure someone is really important, because if you don't reassure them right now, you're going to have an objection later, or you're going to have conflict.
Yes.
Right. So people are going to be unsure. They're going to be not confident. It's really easy. Do you know what the body language is? Since you've done some hypnosis and some stuff like that, what do you reckon it is?
Breathing? No.
Breathing is something else.
I can't think of it. I'm sorry.
I put him on the spot. Boom. He's under the spotlight, and the brain is getting flustered. Right. So here it is.
Yeah.
I picked up my pen for a reason. If anything crosses my lips, right, and goes towards my teeth, it's called object insertion. Right. And you start chewing on a pen. Ladies might chew on their hair. People might chew on their nails. Right. That's when you need reassurance. So if you're in a conversation with somebody and they could start chewing on their straw. Like next time you go to lunch, next time you go to a restaurant, next time you go to Starbucks, just have a look around. And I promise you, you'll notice somebody chewing on their straw, or the stirring sticks in at Starbucks. They'll be sitting there in the conversation and they'll be chewing on the end of it like a piece of straw. And you're going to be like, that crazy Australian told me that person needs reassurance right now. Right? So what they're saying is what they're listening to or what they're speaking. So you have to understand the context, right? Mm-hmm. Context is king.
Yes.
Who's talking? Are they talking or are they listening? So whatever the topic that's going on right now, they're kind of uncomfortable with, they've got uncertainty, and they've got some questions that I need to get answered. Does that make sense?
Well, it does, actually. I mean, we see this behavior all the time. We just don't pay attention to it because it's just so standardized. It's all over.
And that's why I called my book "People Ignorant." We've become ignorant to the fundamentals of communication, and now AI, technology, and social media is using our basic communication styles to exploit us, to manipulate us. And we don't know what's going on. So just hold on. If you just understand the basics of communication, you can predict everything.
You can. And well, you said it, we talked about body language and behavior and movement, right? And one of the things that I know for a fact from personal experience. I mean, first of all, I didn't have the training that you had, so I can't even get close to it. Especially getting someone from who trains the CIA and all this stuff on behavior and all that. But the fact is, in martial arts, there's a similar form of observing, movement and body language and things and behavior, whether it's speech or little body language. And we have to, I mean, I've been in martial arts in my life. And that's one thing I've learned way early. Like someone gets in your space, someone's getting agitated, someone is making moves, hands up, hands down, all the angle they position themselves, all that stuff is like you're like literally everything around you. You're like observing everything because you have to be mindful of what's going on. And that's actually I applied those concepts even in the discussion. Someone gets like in your face, get closer and agitated. Even in sales, some people get really like mad or like oh my god. And so you have to be able to observe this. Like, is it time for? And even that just if someone is just staring at you, sometimes they get that cold eye. It's like look at you like. And you're like, what the hell's going on? Am I doing a good job? I'm not doing a good job. And you start like thinking in your mind right now, what's going on here? You lost this whole discussion. So those are some of the things that, again, at least in my world, that's how I see them. But you're right. I mean, not everybody can identify these things because they're not really trained to it. And you're right, the keyword ignorant, because that's not something we're trained on.
It's becoming, you're 100% right. It's becoming aware of. And the more you can become aware of your surroundings, martial arts fantastic because it teaches you to also roll with the flow of energy, right? Some of the martial arts are literally constant rolling. And in a conversation, we always hear about active listening, but most people don't do it. They're sitting there taking notes, so therefore they're missing it, right? If you don't invest in a call recorder or you can't record Zoom or record things automatically, you should be paying attention because I will convert more when I can sit there. And here's a secret to active listening. If anyone wants to actually be a better listener, right? I don't think many people would, but we'll give it a try, right? Sure. The thing is, as we're communicating, you should be saying, really? You've probably noticed me doing that a little bit. Hurricane's sitting there. He's all quiet because of the podcasting mic. But the behavior guy's sitting there going, you're right. That's awesome. Really? Because it shows I'm paying attention.
Yeah. And that's a technique that's you. I mean, again, I'm doing the same thing like you talking like, and I'm with you. But you're right. You have to reiterate the idea that you're still present because you'll lose someone quickly if you just completely just like looking at them blind with no motion, no emotion, no motion. It's just dead. I mean, that's actually a killer in presentations. I hate when you go to a place and you do a presentation and people are just staring at you. And that is not happening. Something is off. You're not getting the excitement. And I've seen it actually in a lot of places, and that can ruin, your day if you're doing this for a living. I mean, especially in sales, you go and I've seen some reps, for example, they go or trainers for that matter, they go up, but nobody's really doing anything with them. Like everybody's doing this stuff. They're just like, okay, there's no interest here. And that's exactly it. And there's no like, so how, and even in sales, I'm talking to you as a client. I'm like, so how are we doing? How does that sound? We call them tie downs, so you want to get that like, reaffirmation. How are we doing? Are we good? Is there anything like, and then also I want to show you that I'm doing that. Those are
one of the best things you can do. If you want to like have some fun with people in your conversations, right? When you're communicating with them, just mirror back to them the last word they said, and like with a little bit of up. So it's just like staring. You tie downs.
You're listening.
Shut the hell up, right? Because then that's going to have them then explain what the hell they're talking about. So if you want to actually clarify what somebody's saying, you can just literally say the last word back to them or the key word in the sentence they were talking about, with a little bit of an upswing, and you'll be amazed at how you start going down, right?
I know. Well, it's funny. We're doing this right now, and we're not scripted. You're talking, I'm talking, and we do have to keep up with each other. And I go back sometimes to the discussion and bring some points because that's usually what I do. I just go and pick up from those and continue the discussion. But my mind is working double time because I need to be, catching up with you and making sure that I pick everything and literally taking mental notes right now as we speak. It is really that. I mean, and it's not easy just for people. I mean, it takes a lot of energy because you have to like be focused. And at the same time, your mind is calculating what my next question is. Because some people think, well, you have questions ready. I mean, we watch TV and we watch the news sometimes and they have these cards. I don't have a card. I've not prepared for this, in a particular way of sentences or questions, because I don't know what we're going to get in the discussion. And that's what you get in sales. You know what the topic is going to look like. You know what you're going to pitch, but you don't know the person in front of you, how they're going to behave.
You're 100% right. And what most people in sales, the mistake they make is they don't have a model to follow. Like, you'll be flying by the seat of your pants is not a model for good sales. Like, I can 2 or 5x your sales in 90 days, right? 2 or 5x your sales conversions, right? So you could be converting at 80% maybe, right? The thing is, the first thing we do is we'd give you a model that works, and would give you a way to communicate emotionally without creating resistance. And it's adaptable regardless of the objection. And not every call you're going to have is going to result in a sale. But you're not looking for the sale. You're looking, is there a problem? Is there emotion connected to that problem? Because if there is no emotion, there is no urgency. So that person, yes, they want to lose weight, but they're going to McDonald's and they're just ordering their second Big Mac for the day and a big tub of ice cream. So you know what? Yeah, it's just not a fit for right now. And that's okay. So you know what? I don't even want to sell them, because selling them would be a complete waste of my time and theirs.
Ben, I love what you're saying, because I actually subscribe to this definition that you just mentioned. And I use it in trainings myself, because I always tell people, first of all, I have this rule. There is a product and a service for everyone, and there's a service and a product for everyone. Everybody's got their own thing. And my job is not so much to pitch you my product or service. Yes, as a salesperson, you have to, but really to identify who is going to be, are you going to be, connected with this product or service? Is it going to make sense for you emotionally? Is this something going to create the urgency you just mentioned? If not, then you're not it. Sometimes I train my folks and I tell them, you don't waste time. There is a way to identify this initially. And if the person is not going to be, this is not them, don't spend an hour with them just to try to force it down the throat. It's not going to happen.
They should have killed that conversation at 15 minutes, right?
But they don't do it. Unfortunately, some people get stuck because, I got this. I think I got them. No, you don't got them. It's over.
You know what that person's probably also doing is when they ask a question, right, to the lead or the prospect, they're accepting okay as an answer. And okay is a fence-sitting phrase, which means there's no emotion, right? It's not okay. So if you hear okay, you're like, what do you mean you're only okay with the marketing results you've been getting? What do you mean you're only okay with your weight loss plan that you're using right now? Because then you have to go a little bit deeper there, and you actually have to get the emotion. Because if we accept logical responses, which are really a fluff off, right? The thing is if you start probing a little bit more and know how to probe and clarify, your communication transforms. Even if you're communicating to your loved ones, just do that mirror thing. What do you mean out on the weekend? What do you mean the car? Or just, you can say it in one word. See if you can say it in one word. You'll be amazed. You can use it at Starbucks every now and again. You might get a free coffee. It's just like when they go, how do you want to pay? Pay? You might be surprised what you get away with, right? You might get a good guy discount. Who knows, right? You'll be surprised if you don't ask for it. And if you start to look at every conversation as a game, and when you study this behavioral stuff, you'll start to see these common threads on how you react to certain people differently. And you'll be like, oh, that's why that guy's pissed me off all the time, and things like that. Did you want me to talk about the 4 different personality styles, or we'll skip that to another time?
Oh, we will talk about that. but I wanted to go back to 2 things. One, active listening you mentioned earlier, right? And I mean, it is supposed to be, listening is supposed to be more than talking in sales. And most of us, we do the opposite. And we think more talking, more pitching. That's why they say, oh, he's a sales guy, she's a sales guy, because she talks and he talks. No, it's really, to your point, more listening. And of course, there's listening, there's active listening, which is like reiterating, understanding, like making sure that they see that you are part of that discussion. And you said it, one of the ways is like, well, so what what you're saying is, right? Am I getting that correct? So I am getting that from you.
Right.
Yep.
We in our software and with behavior sales, we actually analyze who asked the most questions. And in the new model we actually teach people for sales, you can be pitching less than 10%, right? Less than 10% pitching. And the thing is in the old model, you're pitching 80% of the time. So we actually flipped it and it's more effective because there's less resistance. So the thing is we want to track is who asked the most questions. Did you ask the most questions or did the rep ask the most questions? We actually can analyze the words people use, right? We can actually show you if you have influence over the person you're communicating with based on the words you're using and based on the words they're using. And if you don't have influence, and it's got nothing to do with how you've built rapport, because I can show you how to get on a call and be actually talking about the meat and potatoes within 60 seconds. You build rapport faster. Because when you get I'll put it in context for people. They're like, Ben, pump the brakes, right? Let me slow this down a little bit, right? When your doctor calls you, do you spend the first 5 minutes talking about the football game on the weekend or the great steak you ate last night? No. They're on and off that call within 60 seconds. You've waited all day for it. They get on, they tell you what they're going to tell you, and they move forward, and you accept it. Yeah, when you get on, when for some reason salespeople or communicators who are trying to gain influence believe I've got to know, like, and trust you, I can create that. I can manufacture that in seconds, how I present with confidence. The secret is, if people really want a secret, everybody wants to be led. Are you willing to lead them?
That's
and there's
powerful.
4 different styles in which to lead people. That's literally the secret. The problem is you'll jump on a call, and from the minute you say g'day, you weren't ready to lead. You were distracted. You're preoccupied. You're multitasking. So therefore, there's what we call a bird fight, a cockfight, because people are trying to work out who's leading this thing. And if no one's leading this thing, we're just going to circle the drain for 20 minutes.
Well, I have to, before we get to the styles, your key, that what you just did there is actually what you hear on a call, for example. To your point, we're talking about calls. If a person is like coming to you like, hi, can I speak to Mr. Okay. Just doing this to me, like if you're on the other line, like, wait a minute, this is not going to be exciting. But, well, hello. And there's a tone. The tone is what makes it, especially if you're not visually seeing the person. I mean, I'm seeing you right now, but imagine if we were talking on the radio. It's going to take a little bit different. I need to get a little bit more energy from your voice and see that connection. Sometimes that's lost in the discussion. And on telesales, for example, it's a big deal. They can ruin it right off the top. Customer service is even worse when someone's like, this is John speaking. How can I help you? Wow. I mean, that's not giving me a good confidence right at that moment. So I just wanted to talk about that for a second. But now let's go to those styles. Those 4. And by the way, the leading piece is a powerful piece. And unfortunately, I mean, we live in a world, right? There's more followers and less leaders, right? I mean, and that's unfortunate. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Huh? What?
Just look at social media, right? Everyone's a follower.
That is, well, a lot of, like you said, millions of followers. And, but that's the other thing. I have to say there's more now. People are getting to it. They discovering themselves, which is, it's given and open to a lot of people that had talent, had opportunity, have had the drive to do that. And they're doing it. But that's great stuff. But you're right. I mean, even politics, politicians are great salespeople, great communicators, great pitchers, and they know how to do exactly what you said. Talking about behavior, they'll convert you. I mean, like
they have professionals that help them and critique them and give them feedback on everything they did and how they staged. They are all trained on how to be staged. But this is the thing, like politicians will watch their presentations back, right, to improve. Yes. Yet, how many salespeople have listened to a sales call? Listen to one of their own sales calls. Listen to one of their winning calls, right? Most of them don't even record their calls, which is a sad reality. I'm like, well, if you're not recording your calls, how are you getting better? But yet, you'll record the football game and watch that thing 15 times. Yet, you don't even play anymore.
Oh, Ben, let me tell you this. I do this, right? I watch my shows. I listen to them. My wife sometimes like, you love to listen to your voice. No, I don't listen to my voice. I listen to my mistakes and how I do so I can improve on them. And I use that in trainings. As a matter of fact, we record them and we calibrate the training, sometimes the session or presentations in practice. And we also calibrate the real calls and real presentations to show them, well, you could have said this differently. This is what went wrong here. This is what could have been. But you're right. If you're not the feedback is key. I mean, we all think that we're hot. We know what we do and we're good. And at a degree, you can get to that point, right? But at the end,
you know what I think is hilarious?
Yeah.
He's like, we'll talk to a salesperson, and I'm like, so what's your closing rate? Oh, 80%. Yet you're making 30 grand a year. So you're 80%, like you're closing 8 and 10. Oh, no. It's 8 out of everyone I pitch. Because now what they've done is there's this thing now of bad math, right? Mm-hmm. It's not because they don't know where their phone is. It's just like now they're not considering every call a pitch, right? So the thing is, oh, no, it's only the people I presented the offer actually did the full close or presented the signed contract. Is like that's who they're now counting because you got to count everybody. Because we know not everyone's going to show up, and that's okay. And not everyone you're going to be able to present to, or not everyone you're going to connect to, but you've got to count everybody. So the thing is if you want to get better, bad math does not help you. You need to be honest with the math.
Well, here's what my rule is: 100% conversion. I mean, really, that's what you have to strive for, right? You know, and if I talk to you, I need to convert you, and again. You're talking to me, there's a reason. If someone picks up the phone and calls you, they already are interested. There's a good chance that they are. I mean, they will not just pick up the phone call unless they call you by mistake. They misdialed, but they will be calling you because they want to know. Now, you already have an audience that is interested in whatever you have to offer. And by the way, this is not even just sales. You're in a date. It's the same thing. You are, with family and you're in a party. They there. It's a matter of socializing. We're on social media. It's connecting. It's that kind of, so the more you can convert in terms of those discussions, it works. So that's actually, you're right. People are miscalculating. They're thinking that, oh, my success rate is high, but what is your percentage? What universe you started with is huge. And you're actually maybe doing a fraction of that. And that's not really the point. How can we move from that section, that 10% or 80% of the 10% you've talked to 80% of 100% of what you talk to? And that's actually,
and they don't understand the math of things. They don't understand that, hey, so right now, if you're only converting most salespeople, like single digits, 5%. So that means 95% of the leads you get, or the leads that your business is paying for, which are several $100s, depending on the industry, it's the average cost of you actually having a conversation with somebody is around $2,500. That's $2,500. Just take that in for a minute. So yes, you might be getting a $3 Facebook lead, but how long does it take for you to get in contact with that person and blah, blah, like it takes time, takes energy, takes effort. And when you factor in the full cost, there is a bigger number than what you think it is or what your ad guy is telling you. Right? And the thing is how long are you going to find it acceptable to waste 95% of your money on everything you spend, knowing that you could be converting more?
Well, that's a big loss. And if it was anybody's money, they would not, accept that, right?
But yeah, because it's the boss's money or the business's money, people are like, oh, it's okay. It's fine, right? My sales guys are doing okay. Yeah, but okay is costing you a loss of X dollars. And if you haven't realized how I even presented all of that was emotionally driven.
Yes. Well, it's again, emotions key.
It's all I presented the question of, have you thought of this perspective? That's literally the framework I just walked you through. And I presented the thing of you now asking, well, what is it really costing me? What are my sales conversions metrics? Not by saying, oh, you should be thinking about metrics and blah, blah. I just presented you a story in a new perspective.
you're literally highlighting the actual true story, the real deal, but and again, a picture is worth 1,000 words. When you actually put it that way, people were like, oh wow, damn, I didn't ever thought about it that way. And I always thought like, I'm doing my thing, but because they're narrow-minded, when you're literally given a task, you just need to convert people. But I actually have a habit of, in trainings, and this is, just for people also listening, if you are doing this and helping people and you have teams, whatever, make sure they understand the rationale behind things and what all that picture is. So they have it in their mind when they're actually communicating, because if they understand what it takes to get that for them, they'll appreciate it more. If 100%. They don't, it's like if I give you a gift right now, it could be a very expensive gift. Then I give you a brand new car and you hit it on the wall or whatever and you dent it. You're not going to feel so bad. You didn't spend the money on it. But if it was your money that you spend on that vehicle right now and you hit it, God damn it, I got a dent in this thing, and you go crazy, right? And that's exactly because you don't have any connection to the value that was put in there for you. Same thing for our kids, right? I mean, they take everything for granted. They get stuff. Okay, Dad, can I have this? Can I have that? I can speak, by experience. And when they work, oh, that's expensive. Now it is expensive. It wasn't expensive when it was my money, right? Now you buy it like, oh, that I can't afford this.
The sneakers you wanted for $200. Yeah. It's different now.
It adds up, right? But again, talking about behavior, this is all that. And thank you for actually bringing that, because it really changes the dynamics. The perspective is different when you look at it from the way you presented it. And by the way, that's applicable everywhere, anywhere. Not just if you're a telesalesperson or sales in life. If you're having a discussion and even dealing with a problem, criminology, you got to talk about, at court, you got to have to present the whole facts and what the damage is, because we're looking at one angle here. Now we're going to look at a bigger picture. There's more to this story than what you're presenting. So it could be done in every single angle, and it can change things on how people perceive it. That's how jurors can be, changed in their decision based on how the presentation goes, right? There's a 100%. Lot of stuff. It's all psychology. So Ben, I haven't forgotten. We need to talk about those 4 styles because, those are the key things. So let's talk about them.
Oh, we'll talk about them real quick. So the thing is I'll give people a crash course in personality types. You may have done a personality test in the past, right? And a lot of people are like, well, that's great. And then they forget about it. That's the problem with personality tests is they forget about context, and it's difficult for them to apply into every conversation. So the thing is we work out a model that allows us to implement and focus more on implementation. And I had to make it simple because I'm a simple type of guy. I'm Australian. We like beer and barbecues, right? And relax on the beach, right? I don't want to be working more than I have to, right? So if you want to enjoy life more, this is the model for you. If you like crazy details, this probably ain't the model for you, right? So 4 birds. I'm going to test you along the way. So pay attention. There's 4 different birds. First of all, we have Liberty, the eagle. Call Liberty the eagle because she's just as mission focused, fighting for liberty. She's got a cause she's fighting for, very results orientated. What's the task I have to do to get this ROI? Very fast, very quick, snap decisions, right? Usually likes to be a leader, hates losing. Can you picture anybody like that?
A lot.
Yeah, a few people, right? So What was the name of the bird?
Liberty eagle.
Yeah, there you go. See, you're paying attention, right? and if you aren't aware, that's an engagement captivation strategy. So I've asked back so that now you'll remember more than ever, right? So, and this is activating the short-term memory. And here's the secret. When you want people to engage and remember stuff, activate the short-term memory and then continue to activate it the whole way through. So next, I've got Vegas the peacock. And it's just like Vegas. Glitz, glamour. They got the chain, they're wearing the Gucci, and they want to make sure you know it's Gucci or Louis Vuitton or Prada, and they want you to know that this t-shirt cost me $850, right? And man, I paid with my black Amex while I was driving my new Lamborghini, man. Like it was fast, right? And these people have got a story. They love status. They care not so much about the details, but about the story and the emotion and the status. And the type of people that'll cut you off when you're telling a story to tell their story about another story. Know anybody like that?
I think I might make that mistake. No, I'm just kidding. But yes,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So one of the things you want to be aware of is everyone has a primary and secondary bird, and it changes based on context. That's why you're someone different with the kids, someone different with the wife, someone different at work, someone different when the boss walks in, right? These things, primary, secondary, and it's all contextually driven. So it's being aware of this. And one of the things we can actually do is we can convert a LinkedIn address or an email address into a full personality profile without that person ever answering one question, right? So that's what we can do. We've got this intelligence that we do stuff with. So
amazing.
What was the name of that bird?
Vegas, the peacock.
Yeah. So what are the two?
Liberty, the eagle, and Vegas, the peacock.
See,
you're
gonna master body, personality types faster than anything. So, bird number 3, right? This one I call Tank the pigeon, pigeon or dove, depending where you live or what type of animal you resonate. Right? Just think of pigeons in the park. They're a pack animal, very flighty. They hear any noise, and they're like a dog could bark on the other side of the park, and the birds are going to take off for no specific reason. Social animal, want to be everybody's friends, right? Hate conflict, will run from conflict, right? They're the type of person when you take to lunch, right? You never, ever, ever take them to the Cheesecake Factory, because they're going to see that menu with 500 items on it. And they're not going to start. You're going to go, hey, you want to go to lunch, man? You'll be like, oh man, I don't know. I went to lunch yesterday, and I'm going to lunch tomorrow night, and I've got lunch. But I'm like, but Jim and Sally are coming in. You've decided you're going to lunch, right? They're still thinking about it you can't ask them, where do you want to go? Because they're telling you their food meal plan for the last 2 weeks and what they're having for the next 2 weeks. And you're like, I just want tacos. Seriously, we're going for tacos. I don't care if you had tacos last Wednesday. And the thing is have you ever sat at the table with these people? And they're like, the waiter comes up and goes, do you know what you're having? And they're like, oh, come back to me. I'm not too sure. And they're literally watching what everybody orders around the table, and they're smelling the food and looking at the meals as everyone goes, you know anybody like this?
I do. I listen. It's funny because I think that all these styles of people, these types, are available around us, and we all meet them, and we engage with them daily. So it is amazing. But I love the way you break it down. So the question is, tank the pigeon or the dove?
Yeah, so why is it tank? So I called this one tank because it's like a tanker in the ocean. They're slow moving and slow to change. Because when a tanker's got to turn around, it's not going to be like the peacock, right? Fast actions, right? Like they're moving. They always got to be busy doing something. But the pigeon, tank, slow to make a decision, right? Hates making decisions. So the name allows you to think slow, right? And the last one is called the thinker, right? And this is an owl. And an owl is a knowledge-based bird. They would rather be right than rich. They're the person who does have a lot of the letters after their names. They want you to know the college they went to, the degrees they've got, every certificate they've got. When they say they're going to think about it, they're literally going to think about it. So what you need to ask that person is what's your usual decision-making process when you go through this for something like this? So now they're going to tell you instantly how they make decisions, how they make logic. This person wants to read every white paper, wants to watch every testimonial, may talk to your clients, will read every blog post and news article that's ever been out there about you. And they'll come with a list of questions and need you to answer every question because they want the analytics. And the thing is the secret to selling these people is saying, look, this is a 5-step process we're going to walk through. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This person intrinsically needs to complete all 5 steps or they get anxiety.
You just remind me of an interview process where you have to have, people in the interview complete the stars, and they have to actually, when they give you half an answer and you have to, keep digging and stuff. If they don't complete that, they don't pass. It's again, it's all similar stuff in my mind. Is just like, crashing here. So the thinker, that's the owl, and I love it actually. I mean, just the perspective, because you actually covered almost every type of personality you can come across in all the different angles: the slow one, the fast one, the shuffle one, and the one that is like, analytical. They're gonna have to write down everything and break it down to the science. And those are all people that you don't know if you're gonna get them at any given moment. If you're in life, you're gonna come across them at all times, and you have to understand how to behave with them. You have them with the employees. Sometimes that's your employees' characteristics.
Well,
it could be your family members.
One of the big things we do is literally help companies understand their culture. Yep. And understand what employees they have in different roles. Because you might have an eagle in customer support. So when the customer calls up, right, they're task oriented. All right, let me show you how to fix this. You're going to go here, you're going to click here, just let me do it, would you? It'll be faster. So what happens to the client? The client's like, oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, the client then feels, there's this thing we actually call the happiness sandwich. And the secret is there's a lot of research that talks about, it's all about how you make people feel. And people only remember the start and end of something. So both those experiences you have to focus on in being great. Because I'll forget the drama and the trouble and everything I went through if you make our ending experience pleasurable. You make me smile, you make me feel happy or a positive emotion, I'll think the whole thing was bloody fantastic. I'll forget that I was frustrated for 3 hours because my computer wasn't working, but you made me feel awesome and you heard me. Does that make sense?
It does. As a matter of fact, I always say, like, I want you to make them feel like the best thing that happened to them today is you. Yeah. and really, that's what. And by the way, all of us, we want that. If we encounter anyone during the day, we would love to have everyone actually that we meet the best person we met that day. And if we use that concept, to your point, we can really live a different, life and a different perspective, and be able to deal differently with folks. And it's amazing. But so Ben, I love you got this down to the science. I mean, I have to say, I give you all the kudos and the chapeaus and everything you want.
I just made this up yesterday, and this is my first podcast ever. Like, never done this before. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, if you did, David, you're just, again, I'm gonna give you more of those. But the company that you've created, I mean, ultimately, this is like this state-of-the-art stuff. This is the next level generation, and really understanding the behavior of, sales and people, because I mean, that's synonymous. I mean, it's the same thing, right? And really the way your systems, the way the analysis is done and the AI is working, things like that, that is powerful. But so I want to just, because we're coming to the end of the show, but I wanted to just to go to the idea of, now this is strictly for companies. Can it be also used by individuals? Can it be, I mean, there's different programs you have.
Yeah. So it's the whole goal on what we're trying to do is provide you, the user, with feedback on the behavioral and emotional intelligence that's going on right now. Because a lot of the time we miss it. If you're just emailing back and forth, you may not realize that person's angry. You may not realize that person's frustrated. You may not realize that they're just not happy. You're missing it. You're becoming ignorant to it. So what we're doing is there's so much communication every single day. We're trying to show you the emotional triggers and the cues. Like, for example, the conversation we had, did it start happy? Did it finish happy? Or did I leave you in a negative emotion? And like, there's a range of negative emotions. There's not just one, right? There's 7 negative emotions. So the thing is if I've left you in that scale, negative emotions fester. So that should be a trigger for someone to work out what went wrong. And let's make sure we get this person happy quickly, because the last thing I want to do is be blindsided by them churning. Mm-hmm. Right? Churning means leaving or abandoning, canceling, whatever, right? So the thing is this happens and it happens in Slack. There's all this communication out there that we help you analyze. Like, we can help you understand the personality type of somebody based on their email or based on their LinkedIn address. So now when you go to call that lead, imagine if you knew what their personality type was with the high state of confidence. And even if it was wrong, you knew how to adapt because you knew what bird they were. Like, within the first 30 seconds, you could tell what bird they are. That's what we teach people to do, right?
But I'm sorry, you just clicked something in my mind. I have this thing with LinkedIn, and I get inboxed, emailed every day. And unfortunately, most of the folks that email me, they don't even know anything about me. They see my profile, but they're really the wrong, I'm the wrong guy for them. And I always I actually wanted to do a whole show about it, just to discuss this, because it is, and that's the wrong thing. Like, you're not going to, as a matter of fact, I ignore you because I don't even respond to those.
Here's the secret we do with LinkedIn. So I take that LinkedIn list. So we get a list of 1,000 people, right? I run it through our software and we segment it into the 4 personality types, 4 birds. I may not want to deal with the owls because they make me work harder. They frustrate me a little because I'm not that like the engineer detail person, right? So I give them to somebody else because I don't want that conversation. I can deal with it. I can be an owl like the best of them, but it's taxing, right? So we know what the 4 birds are, and we create 4 different pitches based on the birds. We have a 30+% response rate to cold leads when we do this.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, cold leads, that's usually the 1 to 2%. 30% is pretty big.
Because I'm talking to your intrinsic motivators of your personality type. That's the only difference. One extra step, we filter and segment that. I can write different ads. I can write different follow-ups. Imagine that. If your business was able to create different email campaigns, or maybe you look at your sales team and you work out who's who. Who's the best person to be having a conversation with this person? Not just round robin, but round robin based on their personality type.
I like that.
Kapow.
Well, it's amazing because that applies also to even tasks, right? You don't want to assign tasks to the wrong people. You have to find what's the best, potential they have, and you put them in the right role, and then you get better things. And again, that's understanding the behaviors of people, understanding the styles, the personalities. And again, you said it, there's 4 kind of groupings, and you just have to which category do I fit in? Am I the eagle? Am I the owl?
The example I give to people is having an owl accountant is fantastic.
Yes.
Having a peacock accountant who's very status and fluid with the details, not so good.
Definitely not going to work. Well. So now, ultimately, the company is available for folks to reach out to you and or to I guess to services. This is are the trainings? Are they, or you do just the service themselves?
So we've got consulting services, we've got software, we've got coaching and trainings, and we can actually help people go through our mentoring programs where we actually help them 5x their sales conversions. And we're literally looking to optimize their sales experience. So there's 3 main things we do, right? So we help people shorten their sales cycle, improve their sales conversions by reducing sales resistance, and identify and predict churn. And we can predict churn of employees or contractors as well as clients. So that churn falls into that company culture. So if you want to compete now in today's world, having a tighter culture and people who are committed, because let's face it, they call it the great resignation right now. 60% of your workforce are actively looking for new opportunities. What's that going to cost you over the next 12 months?
Training, hiring, ads, this, that, the other, and then for nothing. Yeah, you're right. It is a very, very, I believe I experienced it too at work, and it's not easy. It's tough when you.
Most people don't realize that they can't survive the churn rate of some of their employees, sales, wherever it is, high turnover, right? If you're highly turning over, it shows you there's actually a culture conflict, right, going on. Could just be the wrong personality in the wrong role. It's amazing when you identify that and you can adjust that. Little things, because some people don't realize the impact on that churn, just even on the workplace. And by tweaking that, you can get ahead of that and stay competitive.
And I love it. And I think all companies should be looking at that, especially these days. And also there is a change in the behavior in general of employees and humans. I think the pandemic also had an impact. I mean, it just, people are not anymore the same. I mean, we've experienced it even recruiting, just commitment to interviews. Back in the days, people lined up for interviews. Right now, they don't show up to interviews.
Well,
Fact.
I was talking to one business owner the other day. He said, I interviewed 10 people. I gave them all the job. None of them showed up for the job.
Oh, that too. We've seen that. They have a start date, they don't show up. That's another one. I mean, but I'm saying the culture has completely. I mean, it's just a whole new world. And
100%.
and talking about training, staffing or customers, companies have to be aware of that. I mean, the reviews now are important. People have to look at what people are saying about it. So on and so forth.
Taking 2 weeks to onboard some people is wrong. If you don't have them creating a win within the first 24 hours, your chances of losing that person is ridiculously high. Even salespeople, you should be able to onboard a salesperson and have them on the phone by the afternoon, same day. It's about teaching people need to know skills and developing on the fly, right? Not going, okay, we're going to sit in a training room for the next 2 weeks and then we're going to be active, because there's certain generations of people actually hate that. Right? Because they have to learn through doing and action. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that, as you said, the COVID, everything that happened in that cycle, it made people reprioritize. And activity is usually how people are connecting to their emotions. It's through an action I feel. And making me sit makes me think and therefore not feel. And therefore I'm going to go somewhere where I feel, which is not going to be back here tomorrow.
I mean, that is scary statistics. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you guys obviously doing the work, and you've seen this, and you're putting all this stuff, as numbers to share with potential customers and clients. But it's real crazy numbers. I mean, the fact that you just said it that way. I mean, you're right. The new generation has a different appeal in terms of the work and how they see the work and what they expect from the workplace. I mean, I see even my kids. They just don't have the same work ethic that I had, when I was their age, right? And that's just the way it is. And you have to adapt to it from a business perspective. In sales also, you have to adapt to a lot of things. And it's tough because sometimes, depending on the industries, it could be a little bit more taxing, because some things you said it, 1 day training. Maybe it would work for a telesalesperson that has some sort of, training, but you're right. The best training is to do it. We have a joke in ninjutsu. So in martial arts, everybody thinks that when you go to martial arts, you have to get through white belt and go into the different belt levels before you get to black belt. Well, in ninjutsu, if you think about the ninjas back in the samurai days and all that time, right? Well, you think the ninjas had to actually go to training, from different belts to actually go fight the samurai? No, they just became ninjas as they fought the samurais and survived. So day one, you're just basically in the clan. Let's go. We're going to go, and you can make it or not make it. But hey,
well, there's certain things that you can have these people doing, right? It's not like you're going to have them doing everything. But we can have them doing something that's making them progress and feel a win, feel a victory, yes. Right? And that's just fundamental elements of gamifications. And that's how every game is designed. How soon can I get you to experience a win so you'll come back and do it again? And then what I do is, as those levels increase, the things get harder. I need you to experience a little bit of resistance, but if I give you the full world resistance right now, you're never going to play the game.
I love it. Well, yeah, I mean, the boot camp training concept is no longer acceptable. Let's call it that way. Back in the days, you put people in a boot camp and, they learn the hard way. Here, you ease them into the hard way, but you actually train them one piece at a time and show them that they can do the pieces. And that's actually a different, and you're right. I mean, you guys took the time to really develop it to where it is, understanding the new culture of the business world. And that's a big deal. So how do we get people to reach you and your company?
It's really easy. Behaviorsales.com. That's behaviorsales.com. You can spell it the English way or the American way. And if they want a whole bunch of free stuff, or they got questions, easy. Help at behaviorsales.com. That's help at behaviorsales.com. And you can connect with us, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions, give you some guidance, and show you what's truly possible. And if they want a free copy of the People Ignorant book, just mention the podcast, and we'll literally send them a copy of that with some of the bonus resources without no cost, no charge.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that. And I will have the description and the connection and the link to your website, and so people actually can literally just click on and hopefully reach out to you. And I personally will also stay in touch with you because what you do can be very useful in a lot of my worlds. So let's continue that discussion of the air here. But definitely there's going to be some opportunities that we might be able to discuss further.
Awesome.
But so Ben, this was a great hour. I had a terrific time. It's always good talking, sales and really more than just sales. Like we've talked about a lot of things here and things that can be applied in real life. And anyone watching and listening right now, I mean, you can take a couple of elements that we discussed today and apply them daily. You will see a change in your life and behavior and connection with the world. So any last words of wisdom, Ben, before we close today's show?
Just as I said, remember, behavioral intelligence is going to literally give you a competitive edge, and it all starts with you becoming aware of the behavior and the reaction or response you're getting with everybody.
And with that, thank you very much, Ben. It was a pleasure. Folks, thank you for watching with us today on the Sales World channel, iHealth channel, and listening on iHealth Radio. I'm your host, Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. New show, new day, new topic, new guest. Bye for now.